I think next speaker, or we are going to do a fireside chat with the legend of the collaboration space in SaaS, Velchamy. He was part of the original founding team at Webex, then over Zoom. The most interesting thing here is we are going to do this live, not on Zoom this time. So.
Hello, everybody. I'm Nidhi Surana, and I'm really excited about this fireside chat that we're going to have with this legendary person sitting next to me today. So, as Pradeep said, he's one of the most coveted leader in the space of cloud infrastructure and edge computing. So, we're going to have a conversation with him, and then. We have Richard here joining us. So he's just joined us. He is the former business editor of India West newspaper. So he's going to be having some questions for Velchamy. So having said that, let me actually take a stab at introducing Velchamy to you all. So Velchamy currently is the president of product and engineering at Zoom Video Communications. He has been influential in driving the company to real success and growth by developing innovative video communication products. Under his leadership, the company has seen significant growth in the past few years. Prior to holding this role, he has held several leadership roles at companies like Akamai Technologies and VMware. He's led multiple developments there for cloud infrastructure and management solutions that have essentially set new standards in the industry. And besides that, Velchamy is a thoughtful leader. He has this ability of really identifying market trends and executing on winning strategies. And I think one of the most important things that I've basically been having conversations with him about is building really high-performing and empowered teams. So with that, I'm going to get into some of the questions right now. So, Velchamy, first of all, thank you so much for joining us in this conversation today. We're really excited to hear your thoughts on edge computing and how it's transforming the way we process, analyze, and even respond to data. So having said that, you have a successful history of helping companies scale their products and services. So I'm very curious, can you share how you utilized your expertise at Zoom to capitalize on its growth over the past few years?
I think Zoom was a very successful company even before I joined. Okay, it's one of the biggest IPOs in 2019. I think a lot of people remember Zoom as part of the pandemic, but Zoom was growing really fast even before the pandemic. I think when I joined Zoom only in 2020. I think when I joined in 2020, I think there were two major areas that we needed to focus on. I think the first one was, how do we build the capacity? The whole world was working from home. It's not just your work, but your life is also moved to Zoom in most cases. So how do we build the capacity, and then how do we make sure all the feature releases, as you scale, how do you make sure the availability is all good, and also new features are released, etc. I think that's one of the major areas that we all needed to focus. And then the second one is, as companies grow, you build a lot of inefficiencies, you build a lot of bureaucracy, etc. So how do you make sure you don't build it that way? Okay. And for me, the biggest concern when I joined Zoom at the time was not these two problems. The biggest concern was, I am somebody who normally goes to the office all the time. I'm in the office all the time. And then this is when the whole world has shut down and everybody has gone working from home. So going to a new company and managing a new team and then growing, I had a lot of concern. How am I going to do all of this when we are all remote, etc.? But if I look back now, it's a little more than 2 years. If it was sort of normal and then we were all in the office, I think I would have known maybe 100 people very well in the Zoom office in San Jose. Now I think I know maybe 500 to 1,000 people. I also know what they like to eat. I know their family. Sometimes I know their pets also. But I actually don't know where they are. Okay, it's something, normally when you do these, actually you learn more than what you contribute. I feel like I learned, okay, there are different ways to work as well. And now when I see somebody, I'm actually not sure whether I met them in person or did I just meet them in Zoom. The only time I can clearly say is if somebody is really tall. Because in Zoom, normally you can't see the height. So.
That's true. Thank you so much for sharing that, and I actually echo the same thoughts. I actually met some of my colleagues after a long time. It was so surprising to see that what I perceived as their height was not the height they were exactly. So having said that, you actually touched upon a good point, that the past couple of years have kind of brought about a seismic shift in the way we work and connect. So Zoom is one of the leading companies driving this innovation in the way we connect today. I'm just curious, could you just speak to how Zoom's platform strategy has evolved to essentially meet the changing needs of the customers?
Yeah, if we look at 2 years back or early 2020, the change was very big change. All of us, we used to work in one way in the office, and then everybody moved to home. But the change was very simple, meaning you just needed to make sure that everybody has equipment at home, and they have the right bandwidth, and they have Zoom or some tool to communicate, etc. But if you look at now, I think the change is very complicated, because every company is at a different stage, and there is no one size that fits all. Even their end state could be very different. The rate at which they go to their end state is going to be very different. So one of the things at Zoom, what we have been doing is, some of these products have been there. So we started with meetings. Zoom Phone is there, which is like a PBX. You can move pretty much all your PBX out of your offices into the cloud, because maybe there is nobody in the office anymore. Everybody is remote. And then we have Zoom Contact Center, which is also something that's built on the same platform. So your call centers are also becoming very distributed. They're not in centralized offices, etc. And we've added things like Zoom Whiteboard, which is something you can work remotely, not just within a meeting, before the meeting, after the meeting, etc. And we also have Zoom Team Chat, where you can start the chat before the meeting, continue. It's not just a meeting, it's just a continuation of all of this. There are also things we have something called Zoom Room, which is enables a Zoom room to join a Zoom meeting easily. But we have added more hybrid functionality, where actually today the Zoom room can pick the individuals in the room and send different streams. And we even have functionality where it can actually pick the best view of you. Meaning there are multiple cameras. It can say that, hey, somebody is facing this way, this is the best view, etc. How do you make an equitable meeting? How do you make the meeting better than what it is in person, etc.? So we also have something called a workspace reservation, which is, the permanent office space is also going away, because not many people are in the office, etc. So one of the things, as part of the Zoom client, you can actually go reserve your space in the office, and all your phone number, everything will be set there. So there are a lot of innovation as part of the platform that we are doing. And there is an underlying AI stuff. There is a lot of stuff that we have done. If you look at the virtual background that we had for a long time, so that is AI ML. There is noise suppression, and we did transcription, translation to enable that. And there is a lot more functionality that is coming up in that area as well. The whole idea is, how do we build a platform which has limitless connections to accommodate all the different customers that we have.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's evident that you have kept it at the heart to really ensure how to evolve with the changing needs of the customer. Having said that, I think when we are pivoting continuously in a product space, one of the challenges is, how do you decide what's the right thing to work on? So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, how do you basically work through deciding what are the right priorities to work on? And then you spoke a little about how you're using AI, but where does AI fit into the grand scheme of things in your prioritization? What role does it play in your strategy?
I would say on the prioritization, it's a challenge for any company. Forget Zoom, any company that you're there's always a prioritization problem. What do you do, what do you not do, etc. When I joined Zoom, Normally, when you join a new company, you get all these emails congratulating you, saying, "Oh, congrats on the new job." I think I got as many feature requests as congratulations. Okay, and a lot of these requests are from. And the surprising thing was the age group was so wide. I got like requests from one of my friend's grandmother, and I got requests from one of my friend's daughter, very young daughter. So, given all of that. What we also do within Zoom is the innovation is not limited to product managers or anybody. Anybody at Zoom can actually come up with a requirement, they can put it in. And we go through a process. We also take in a lot of customer feedback. We have advisory boards for customers, industry-specific customers. And there is a process that we have. Even though we have this process, I think we also build in enough agility. So tomorrow we say, hey, this is a feature that we need based on a customer need. We'll have the ability to actually deliver it faster. It's not like your roadmap is full for like 9 months, whatever you need to do, etc. So we build that agility, make sure that we can do that, and then we do the best we can. But we also have, we also build a developer ecosystem. The idea is, okay, look, maybe in some areas we cannot focus, but we have either developers or our partners can actually go in and focus on those areas and then expand the platform. And on the AI, your AI question is basically how do we make meetings more useful, okay? And also how do you make, save you time? You know, there are things, like I talked to you about the virtual background. If you look at the noise cancellations and noise suppression, in a lot of Zoom meetings, if you have a dog barking in the background or you have a vacuum cleaner running, those are all suppressed. You may hear it, but the other side won't hear it, etc. There is a lot of work there, but there is also a lot of like new stuff that we are doing where you can do meeting summarization, meeting action items from a meeting, etc. So it sort of saves you time, and the idea is like Zoom meeting should be better than even if you're doing a pure in-person meeting.
Thank you so much, and I think I hear you when you say that basically we want to simplify the way we work, and AI has played a significantly important role in how things are getting simplified right now. With that, I have a lot more questions, but we have Richard here with us, and I know, Richard, you have some questions for Velchamy. So please go ahead. There you go, Velchamy.
Yes. Last year, the merger with Five9 was terminated, and I'm wondering, once that was terminated, how did you decide to go on to somehow replace whatever advantages that you saw in the merger in your development team? Did you decide you would build the functionality that you were hoping to acquire in-house, or was there any other strategic thinking that you did after that merger was terminated?
Just a background, I think this was a contact center company that we were looking to buy, Five9. So Zoom has been working on contact center even before the Five9's announcement. If you look at quarterly announcement, the quarter before the announcement, we already been working on. And normally when you do acquisition, there are a few reasons, right? So one is time to market. The other is like market share, like customers, etc. I think for us, I think we tried to do the acquisition, and the acquisition didn't go through. So we continued our development, and we launched our contact center. And I think it is, right now, it's doing pretty good in the market.
Yeah, my second question is, I noticed you had a new press release that was just released about a new approval you received from India's Department of Telecommunications, I guess granting you long-distance rights for Zoom Phone in India. And I was wondering if you could explain, especially to this audience, what are some of the advantages this will bring to Zoom Phone in India for your subsidiary there?
Yeah. You know, Zoom Phone is a worldwide service. The idea of Zoom Phone is if you have employees in every country, you just need to have a centralized PBX like Zoom Phone, and then you provision numbers in each of the countries. And you need to work through the regulatory process in every country. And India is something that we have been working on for a while. India has like multiple circles, so you need to actually get approvals to run this service pretty much with all the circles. And also you need to be, so the idea is all these users there, They should be able to call within the company, but they also should be able to call within outside into the local numbers in India. And so there are all the regulatory stuff that we've been working through. In parallel, we are also working on launching the service there as well. So we just recently got the approval. So we have the ability to provide Zoom Phone, either for companies within India or for multinationals that need a presence in India. The permits are there, but we are working on the execution and the rollout plan right now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you. So before we started this session, I actually got some of the questions from our esteemed audience here today. So one of the questions is, in a multi-cloud environment, how do companies like Zoom approach the use of cloud vendors? And what factors do they consider when selecting and using multiple cloud platforms?
I think I'll use my Zoom background and my VMware background for this, okay? I think it all depends on your workload. Okay, what type of workload do you have? And also, how critical is it? Is it your core competency, et cetera? So if you look at a company that has IT, most of the time the workload is very stable. It doesn't go up by much, and it's very easy to move. And it's not anything to do with your gross margins, et cetera. I think if you look at Zoom, pretty much our gross margin is based on our cost. And we are a SaaS service. And even us, what we realized is that there are certain parts cloud makes a lot of sense. If you look at Zoom, at a very high level, we divide into two areas. All the persistent stuff, meaning your database, your recordings, etc. That's something that we normally put it in the public cloud. And anything that is real time, we basically run it in our own colos. There are cases we run it in the public cloud, but ideally we run it in our own colos. And the reason is, if you look at, this is like a video service. You need to have, each user should be closest to the server. So we have a lot of edge, and then we have a backbone that connects all the edge. So if there are, say like 10 people in a meeting, and they're from 10 different countries, there is a good possibility they'll all be talking to a different edge server in different data center. We also let the companies control what edge servers they can use. You can go and say, I want to ring fence my company to use only these servers, then we'll pick the best option, etc. So for that, we basically use our own colo. In some cases, we use the cloud, but the primary use case is our own colo for two reasons. One is we needed a very sophisticated, high-performing network. And the other is, if you look at the public cloud, most of the network cost is metered. And in our case, we want end users to use more and more network. We want them to provide higher video quality, etc. So we need to manage cost as well. So those are two reasons. So just an example of how we look at it. But I think every company needs to look at what is their workload. Is it just your G&A, or is it your COGS part, and how do you manage it? Is it a gross margin, etc.?
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm very sure this specific discussion is something that people would be excited to talk more about. So we can definitely take that offline. And then I have one more question for you, and that's basically coming from all the young people in the audience here who really are working very hard to grow in their careers. So what would be your career advice for young professionals?
I think I'm much older now, so I don't know how what is in for younger people. So this is what I would say. So normally, I meet new college grads, etc., and I think they ask the question. So I think my advice would be, the world used to be very different when I started working. So once I finish work, I didn't have to think about work. I mean, I'll think about work, but I just go home and I'm completely disconnected. And then the first thing that happened is globalization, where now you started working like 24/7, then you had all these mobile devices. So, and then with the pandemic, I think it's become, your life and work has become merged, okay? Everything is merged. So you need to really like what you're doing. It cannot be that you do the work and then you go home and then you have a different life. I think you need to have a lot of passion in what you're doing. That will be my advice. So go find what do you think you have a lot of passion on and it doesn't burn you out. Okay, because work and life is going to be very difficult to split.
Thank you so much. I agree with you that basically the line of demarcation between work and life has blurred significantly. With that, I'm very sure that you still want a lot of time from Velchamy, but this has been an incredible experience. Thank you so much for your time. It was amazing to hear your thoughts.
Thank you. It's great to be here meeting all of you. Thank you.